7 days in, a hidden camera exposed a secret live in my home and a betrayal I was never meant to see. Enjoy the new story, guys.
My name is Marcus, and exactly 7 days after moving into what I thought was my dream home, my life split clean down the middle. The message came in just after 6:30 p.m. while I was still at work, staring blankly at spreadsheets that suddenly didn't matter. It was from an unknown number. At first, I assumed it was spam. Then I read it again. And again, 7 days after moving in, that part hit me first. Then the rest sank in like a slow poison. I forgot to remove the living room camera. My stomach tightened. I reread the message, every word dragging something darker into the light. A camera, in my house, in my living room, and it had been recording. What I saw your wife, her mom, and her sister doing while you were away shocked me. I felt my pulse start to hammer in my ears. Don't mention this to your wife. Meet me alone. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I sat there, frozen, my mind trying to reject what it had just read. My wife, her mother, her sister, all in the same sentence, all connected to something that required secrecy. I typed a reply, erased it, typed another, erased that too. Finally, I settled on something simple. Who is this? The response came almost instantly. The previous owner of your house. We need to meet tonight. I should have gone home first. I should have confronted her. I should have done 100 different things, but I didn't. Instead, I sent my address to confirm, and he replied with a location, a quiet parking lot behind a closed grocery store about 15 minutes from my office. I told my wife I had to work late. She didn't even question it. That was the first crack. The drive to the meeting spot felt longer than it was. Every red light stretched out, every second filled with thoughts I didn't want to think. I kept replaying the message in my head, trying to find a different meaning. Something harmless, something explainable. But there wasn't one. When I finally pulled into the lot, I saw a single car parked near the edge, its headlights off. I parked a few spaces away and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. Then my phone buzzed. I'm in the gray sedan. I stepped out, the cool evening air doing nothing to calm the heat rising inside me. As I approached the car, the driver's door opened, and a man in his late 50s stepped out. You, Marcus? He asked. I nodded. You sent the message? He looked uneasy. Not nervous exactly, but burdened. Like he'd been carrying something heavy and didn't know how to set it down. Yeah, he said. I'm sorry to drag you into this like this. What camera? I asked, skipping everything else. What did you see? He hesitated, then gestured toward his car. Better if I show you. Every instinct told me to walk away. But I didn't come this far to turn back. I followed him. Inside the car, he handed me a tablet. It's all backed up here. I only realized the camera was still active when I got a storage alert this morning. I logged in, saw recent footage, and, well, he didn't finish. My hands felt strangely steady as I took the tablet. Before you watch, he said quietly, you should know I never intended to spy on anyone. It was part of a security system I used when I lived there. I thought I removed everything. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I tapped the screen. The first clip loaded. It was my living room. No doubt about it. The new couch we'd bought. The rug she picked out. The same angle I'd seen 100 times with my own eyes. The timestamp read 2 days ago. I fast-forwarded. Then I saw them, my wife, her mother, her sister. They were sitting together, laughing, drinking. That part wasn't strange. They were close, always had been. But then something shifted. The laughter changed. The way they looked at each other changed. I frowned, leaning closer to the screen. What is this? I muttered. The man beside me didn't answer. My wife stood up first. She walked toward the center of the room, her expression different. Not the way she looked at me, not the way she looked at anyone, as far as I knew. Her sister followed, then her mother. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. This doesn't make sense, I said under my breath. But it did. It made a terrible kind of sense. The kind you don't want to understand. The clip continued, and with every passing second, the truth became harder to deny. The boundaries I thought existed between family, between right and wrong blurred, then shattered completely. I paused the video. My reflection stared back at me from the dark screen. Pale, hollow. Is this a joke? I asked, my voice tight. I wish it was, the man said. I shook my head, trying to push it away. There has to be an explanation. He didn't argue. That somehow made it worse. Watch the rest, he said. I didn't want to, but I did. The next clip was from yesterday. Same room, same 3 people. This time, there was no easing into it, no gradual shift, just continuation, like whatever line they'd crossed before had already been erased. I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a foundation giving way. I set the tablet down on my lap, my hands finally starting to shake. How long? I asked. I only have access to what's been recorded since you moved in, he said. But based on what I saw, it didn't look new. Of course it didn't. I let out a slow breath, staring out the windshield into the dark. Why tell me? I asked after a moment. He looked at me, his expression firm now, because if it were me, I'd want to know. And because whatever's going on in that house, you're the only one who doesn't seem to be part of it. That last part hit harder than everything else. The only one, an outsider in my own marriage. In my own home, I picked up the tablet again, my grip tighter this time. Send me everything, I said. He hesitated. You sure? Yes. He nodded slowly. All right, but you need to be careful. If they find out, they won't, I cut in. Because in that moment, something inside me had already shifted. The shock was still there. The anger too. But beneath it, something colder was forming. Something patient. Something precise. I looked down at the frozen frame on the screen, my wife's face caught mid-laugh, like nothing in the world could touch her. She has no idea, I said quietly. No idea about what? He asked. I met his eyes, a faint, humorless smile pulling at the corner of my mouth. About what happens next. And for the first time since I read that message, I wasn't confused anymore. I was certain. Session 2, 1000 words. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes after the man left, the engine off, the silence pressing in around me. The videos were already on my phone now, sitting there like a loaded weapon I hadn't decided how to use. Shock fades faster than people think. What replaces it is something far more dangerous. Clarity. By the time I finally started the engine, I wasn't asking questions anymore. I wasn't trying to understand why. I didn't need to. I needed to decide what to do. When I walked through the front door, everything looked the same. The lights were warm. The scent of dinner still lingered faintly in the air. The television hummed softly from the living room. Normal. That was the unsettling part. She was curled up on the couch, scrolling on her phone, exactly where I'd seen her in those recordings just days earlier, in a completely different version of reality. Hey, she said, glancing up with a small smile. You're late. I studied her face. Every detail felt different now, like I was seeing it through a cracked lens. Yeah, I said evenly. Work ran over. She nodded, already losing interest, her attention drifting back to her screen. No suspicion, no guilt, not even a flicker. It confirmed something important. Whatever they were doing, they didn't think they'd get caught. Good. That gave me time. I'm going to take a shower, I added, setting my keys down. Okay, she murmured. I walked past the living room slowly, my eyes sweeping the space without turning my head. If I hadn't known, I never would have guessed. That was the disturbing part. Everything looked ordinary, but it wasn't. Upstairs, I locked the bathroom door and leaned against it, finally letting the mask slip for a moment. My reflection in the mirror looked like someone else, someone sharper, colder. I pulled out my phone and opened the videos again. This time, I didn't flinch. I watched carefully, not as a husband, but as an observer. Patterns started to emerge. Timing, behavior, subtle cues in how they moved, how they spoke before things escalated. It wasn't random, it was deliberate, planned. That's when the idea began to take shape. Not a burst of anger, not some reckless confrontation, something controlled. If they could build a secret life inside my house, then I could build something right alongside it. Something they'd never see coming. Over the next 2 days, I played my role perfectly. I laughed when I was supposed to, ate dinner like nothing had changed, kissed her goodnight, and all the while, I watched. I noticed when her phone lit up with certain notifications. I noticed how often her mother called, how her sister showed up unannounced, but somehow, always at very specific times, they thought they were being subtle. They weren't. By the third day, I knew exactly when it would happen again. Friday. Late afternoon, I made sure to tell her that morning that I'd be working even later than usual. She barely reacted. That was confirmation enough. Instead of going to work, I met the previous owner again. This time, I had a request. I need access, I told him. To what? The camera system. Live feed. He frowned. I can give you temporary access, but if they notice, they won't, I said, the same certainty in my voice as before. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right. By 4:30 p.m., I was sitting in my car, a block away from my own house, my phone propped up on the dashboard, the live feed loaded. Empty living room. I waited. At 5:12, the front door opened. My wife walked in first, then her sister. Then, a few minutes later, her mother, like clockwork. I watched them settle in, the casual conversation, the laughter building. It was almost identical to the recordings I'd already seen. Predictable. That word stuck with me. They were predictable, and that made them vulnerable. I stepped out of the car, not immediately. I gave it time. Let the pattern unfold. Let them believe they were alone. Then I walked to the front door, unlocked it quietly, and stepped inside. The laughter from the living room reached me instantly. They hadn't heard me. Of course they hadn't. I moved slowly, deliberately, stopping just short of the doorway. For a brief second, I simply stood there, listening. Then I stepped into view. The effect was immediate. Silence. 3 faces turned toward me, all color draining at once. Shock is a universal language. "Hey," I said calmly. No one spoke. My wife was the first to find her voice. You said you were working late." I changed my mind. Her sister stood up abruptly, panic flashing across her face. Her mother didn't move, but her expression hardened in a way that told me she understood the situation faster than the others. "Marcus, this isn't my wife started." "Stop," I said, raising a hand. She did. That alone told me everything. I took a few steps forward, my gaze moving between them. "You don't need to explain," I continued. "I already know." "How?" her sister whispered. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, tapping the screen once before holding it up. Their faces changed again as the video played. Recognition. Fear. Real fear. "You've been busy," I said quietly. My wife shook her head, tears already forming. "Marcus, please, don't." I cut in, sharper this time. "Don't insult me by pretending this just started, or that it's not exactly what it looks like." Her mother finally spoke, her voice controlled. "What do you want?" That question hung in the air. What did I want? A week ago, I would have said answers, maybe forgiveness, maybe even a chance to fix things. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. Now, I want everything, I said. They didn't understand, not yet, but they would. I want the truth, I continued. Not the watered down version, not excuses, everything. My wife nodded quickly, desperate. Okay, I'll tell you. And then I added, my voice dropping, "We're going to handle this my way." Her sister frowned. "What does that mean?" I smiled slightly. "Not with humor. With certainty. It means I said, you don't get to decide how this ends." Silence fell again, heavier this time. Because now they understood something had shifted. Not just that they'd been caught, but that they had lost control. I stepped back, gesturing toward the couch. "Sit." They hesitated. "Sit," I repeated. Slowly, they did. And as I stood there, looking at the 3 of them, this secret they thought they owned, I realized something simple. Revenge isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. The best kind unfolds slowly, carefully, and by the time it's finished, there's nothing left to fix. Only consequences. And I was just getting started.
They thought their secret was safe. They were wrong. By the end, the truth cost them everything.